Lost civilizations, the vanished city of salt, a desert where the wind carries the scent of salt, not sand. Legends speak of a city made entirely from salt, walls, temples, and even its roads. Travelers claimed to see its gates glittering under the sun, but when they reached, nothing was there. Archaeologists found traces of bones crystallized in pure white minerals, and locals swear that when the moon is full, you can still hear the echoes of voices begging for water in the desert night. This is not Egypt, not Mesopotamia, not any kingdom you know. This is the vanished city of salt. Welcome to History in the Shadow. If you love uncovering the mysteries that hides between facts and legends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because tonight, we are diving into a lost world that official history books never told you about. The story of the vanished city of salt begins in the heart of a desert where life should have been impossible. Historians who have dedicated their lives to studying early human civilizations speak of a place where salt was not just a commodity, but the foundation of life, power, and spirituality. According to fragments found in obscure texts, the city of salt was not like Babylon or Ur, built from stone or brick. It was a place where every structure was molded from giant salt blocks, cut from vast deposits that stretched beneath the earth. The walls shone white under the sun, and at night, they glimmered under the moonlight, making the entire city look like a mirror to the stars. The people who lived there believed that salt was divine. To them, it was not just a seasoning or preservative, it was the essence of the earth itself, a gift from gods that fell from the tears of heaven. Their priests called it the bones of the earth, and their legends claimed that their ancestors were born out of crystal salt statues that came to life when the desert winds breathed upon them. The earliest traders to mention this place never called it by a name. They simply referred to it as the White Haven or the Mirror City. Some claim it was located beyond the oases of the Sahara, others pointed to an empty corner of the Arabian desert, and some even said it was deep in Central Asia. Yet none could agree. It seems the city exposed itself to travelers when it wanted to, and hid when it did not. Arab geographers of the Middle Ages wrote of travelers who followed strange lights in the desert, thinking they were seeing reflections of moonlight on water. Instead, they found shimmering towers of salt. But when they returned with others, the city was gone. Only empty dunes remained. The city's people were described as tall, clothed in white robes that glittered with mineral dust. Their skin was often said to be pale, almost as if coated with a shimmer of salt crystals. They worshipped a god whose name translated to the hidden sun, a deity who did not shine in the sky but burned under the earth, heating the salt and keeping the city alive. According to legend, their rituals were unique. They never used fire in their temples. Instead, they lit crystal lamps filled with salt oil, which gave off a strange, white glowing flame that did not flicker like normal fire. This gave their ceremonies an unworldly appearance, as if the priests were bathed in a light that did not belong to this earth. Salt was their currency, their food, and their sacrifice. Prisoners or enemies were not executed with swords. They were covered with wet cloths and locked in salt chambers until their bodies crystallized into white statues. Some believe these salt statues were later worshipped as guardians of the city. Salt was more valuable than gold in the ancient world. Entire kingdoms fought wars to control salt routes. But the city of salt had more than anyone could imagine. Traders who managed to bring salt from this city spoke of giant underground caverns that shone like palaces. Their tunnels were lined with hundreds of columns, not built, but formed naturally, shimmering with white crystals. Some believe that the salt merchants of this city traded with the Sumerians and the ancient Egyptians, providing them with the minerals that allowed mummification to last for thousands of years. In fact, hidden records claim that the secret to the legendary preservation of pharaohs was not just natron, but a rare form of salt only found in this lost city. But the city kept its locations hidden. Traders were brought in with covered eyes, or sometimes led through mazes of desert paths, until they reached the gates. Many of them vanished, never to return. Others went mad, speaking of mirages, cities that changed locations, and voices in the desert calling their names. In 14th century travel writings, one merchant described stumbling upon a city of white walls that shimmered like ice. He claimed the people were kind at first, offering him water and shelter. But when he refused to participate in a ritual where salt was poured over his body, he was dragged into a chamber. He escaped, but his skin began to dry and crack like stone. He died shortly after returning, and his body was reportedly covered in a thin layer of white crystals. Legends claimed that the city required offerings to keep itself alive. It fed on salt, but also on souls. Some believe the entire city was not just made from salt, it was salt, living salt, breathing salt, a kind of creature built on a scale too large to understand. If you were offered a chance to enter this city and learn its secrets, knowing that many who went never returned, would you dare to accept the invitation? Tell us in the comments, because your answer might reveal whether you belong among the living or with the vanished. The people of the city of Salt did not worship like others. Their temples were not covered in gold or carved in marble. They were simple, but strange, giant halls made entirely of white blocks that glittered in torchlight. At the center of each temple stood a basin, carved from a single block of salt, filled with brine water that never dried. Priests would dip their hands into this basin and spread the water across their faces before beginning their chants. Their songs were low and monotonous, repeated in rhythms that felt more like waves crashing than human voices. Travelers who heard them said the sound made their hearts beat in strange patterns, as if their very bodies were being controlled by the salt songs. Some claimed to have dreams after hearing them, dreams of white cities floating above black oceans, dreams of faces turning to crystal. Salt was not just food to them, it was life. Newborns were washed with salt water. Brides were covered in white dust before marriage. Warriors, before going into battle, would lick blocks of salt to draw strength, and when the dead were buried, they were sealed in chambers of pure salt, their flesh preserved as if time did not touch them. The strange discovery of crystallized bodies. Modern archaeologists have found hints that these legends were not just stories. In remote deserts, bodies have been found, entirely preserved in salt. Their skin, their clothes, even the food in their stomachs, perfectly maintained. Some of these finds were reported in scientific journals but were quickly covered up, claiming they were simply natural salt mines. Yet the locals insist these were the remains of the salt people, travelers who refused to give themselves to the city's rituals. According to the stories, the city had a way of claiming you, even if you did not want to belong. They said if you ate the bread of the city, which was always covered in salt, you could never leave. Your body would dry, your blood would become brine, and eventually, your bones would turn white. In the 19th century, a few European explorers claimed to have found traces of strange structures in the deserts of Africa and the Middle East. One spoke of an archway made of salt that still stood, half buried in the sand. Others described tunnels that went down into the earth, covered in salt crystals that shone like stars. But the most chilling discovery came from a team that ventured into an abandoned salt mine in Iran. Inside, they found walls carved with symbols no scholar could recognize. The symbols looked like eyes, over and over, staring from the walls. And below them, an inscription in an unknown script, translated loosely to say, "The city hides itself in the tears of the earth. The unworthy will be dried. The worthy will be preserved." These words haunted the team. One member died shortly after returning, his body found in his bed, covered in a fine layer of white crystals. Was it a civilization? Or something else? Here is where the mystery deepens. Most lost civilizations can be placed in time: Atlantis, Lemuria, the Indus Valley, the Olmec. But the City of Salt does not belong to any timeline. Its legends exist in African folklore, Arabic texts, and Central Asian songs. How can a single place be mentioned across such distant cultures? Some believe it was not a permanent city at all, but a moving phenomenon. A place that appeared and vanished, like a mirage, or something less human. Others have a darker theory, that the City of Salt was never human to begin with. Instead, it was a colony of something older. Salt is one of the most powerful preservatives known to man. What if this city was built to preserve something? Some claim it was preserving bodies of gods, or creatures who fell from the sky. Locals speak of travelers who entered the city and were never seen again. Sometimes, wanderers would come upon the ruins and find white statues lying in the sand. But when they touched them, the statues crumbled into salt. Were these just natural formations, or were they the bodies of those who dared to enter? One story speaks of a caravan that vanished entirely. Months later, a merchant found their camels in the desert, every one of them standing, perfectly still, turned into white salt statues. Their eyes were still open. their teeth still visible. But they were dead, frozen forever. Some scholars who study astronomy in ancient cultures have noticed something strange. In some folk maps, the city of Salt is always connected to constellations, in particular, the stars of Orion and Sirius. It is said that the temples of Salt were built to align with these stars, just as the pyramids were in Egypt. Why would a city built from salt care about the stars? Unless they believed they came from the stars. Some theorists claim the Salt people were descendants of beings that arrived from elsewhere, and salt was not just sacred to them, it was their essence. Their blood was salt, their gods were salt, but almost every legend about this place ends with a warning. Travelers who searched too hard for the city met horrible fates. Some died in the desert, their bodies preserved by the very mineral they hunted. Others came back, but were never the same, their skin dried, their minds fragmented, as if the salt city kept a part of them. One old nomad once said, "The city does not want to be found. If you see it, turn away. If you enter, you will never leave, because the city of Salt is hungry. And it eats men." Legends agree on one thing: the city of Salt did not fall to war, or fire, or earthquake. It simply vanished. Some say it was swallowed by the earth. Others believe a great storm of white sand covered it forever. And still others say the people themselves chose to dissolve, their temples melting into brine, their bodies turning to crystals, their spirits becoming part of the earth itself. In old songs, there is a verse that goes, "The salt returns to the sea, and the sea returns to the sky." The city is gone, but it watches still. What does this mean? Some believe the city of Salt still exists, but not in our world. Perhaps it shifted dimensions, or sank into a realm between earth and water, a place we can sometimes see, like a mirage, but never touch without being claimed. There are strange stories from the 20th and 21st centuries. Pilots flying over deserts have reported seeing white geometric shapes glittering far below, only to vanish when they turned back. In the 1980s, a group of geologists studying salt formations in North Africa reported walking into a valley that smelled strongly of brine. The air felt heavy, and the sun seemed to reflect off something shining. They found what looked like a stairway leading into the earth, cut from pure white blocks. But when they returned with more equipment 2 days later, the stairway was gone. Only empty desert remained. Even more recently, in 2011, an amateur explorer claimed to have found salt walls in the Iranian desert, carved with symbols. He uploaded a few photos online, but the account vanished within days. The photos were reposted on conspiracy forums, but experts dismissed them as fabrications. Still, those who saved the images swear the symbols match older, untranslated inscriptions from Sumerian sites. So, what was the City of Salt? 3 major theories persist among historians, mystics, and the few who still dare to hunt for it. An advanced human civilization. Some believe the city was simply an advanced human society that mastered preservation techniques far beyond their time. They may have used salt to create a kind of immortality, keeping their dead, their food, even their knowledge preserved for thousands of years. Others think the city was never human at all. Salt, they say, was not just a resource, it was fuel. Some speculate the beings who built the city fed on salt, or used it as energy. When their work was done, they vanished back to the stars, leaving behind a place that sometimes bleeds through into our reality. The most feared theory is that the city is still alive. It is not just a place, it is a hunger, a conscious entity made of earth and mineral, feeding on those who come too close. The rituals of the salt priests were not for gods, they were for the city itself, to keep it sleeping. But when the rituals stopped, the city began to stir. One final mystery remains. There are old maps in private collections that show a white city in the desert, marked with strange symbols. Some explorers claimed to own them. But each time one of these maps was made public, it disappeared. Libraries lost them, museums claimed fires destroyed them, collectors simply misplaced them. The city does not want to be drawn. Each time it is placed on a map, the map is erased. Not by men, but by the city itself. So why does this matter? Because even now, travelers speak of seeing lights on the horizon in empty deserts. Some claim to hear low drumming, like the salt chants of old. Others wake from dreams with dry mouths, dreams of white walls and endless corridors. Maybe the city of salt is not gone. Maybe it is waiting. Maybe one day, someone will walk far enough into the desert, and they will find it standing there, shining white, silent, hungry. And if they enter, they will never come back. This was History in the Shadow. If you enjoyed this journey into the vanished city of salt, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because who knows, maybe the next lost civilization we uncover will be hiding right beneath your feet. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Have a nice day.